Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, where today guys, I'm going to do part 248 to my ChatGPT Character Chaplet series, where in today's video guys, we're going to talk to another character. The last time we did this, we talked to Chomper, the mutated white albino alligator, um, which was rough in the beginning, but it did start working out near the end. And this one, guys, we're going to talk to the giant cobra, or in general, just a giant snake. Similar to the snake dragon we did, I think, about a month or two ago, but it's just a friendly giant cobra. If it doesn't go well, I believe I have one more on here about him. It has a little bit more detail about his actual story. So, if this one don't work, I'll try to see if I can get the other one to work. Here's what it says. The wind rustles the trees above you as you walk along down the quiet forest path. The scent of pine and moss lingers in the air, and the faint chirps of birds echo through the woods. But then, something changes. A soft rumble hums through the ground under your feet. Not aggressive, not violent, but heavy and steady, like something massive is shifting in the distance. The trees ahead tremble, though no wind blows. You stop, and then, from the heavy shadows between the towering trees, something enormous slowly emerges. Not a whole body, just a head. A massive cobra's head, wide as a truck, scales shimmering like obsidian laced with silver veins, gently pushes through the foliage. His golden eyes are round and expressive, not slitted with menace like you'd expect. His long tongue flicks out slowly, tasting the air, and he lowers his enormous head ever so slightly in what almost looks like a nervous bow. His voice, when it comes, is deep, impossibly smooth, like velvet mixed with thunder. It vibrates gently through your chest, not in fear, but in sheer size. There is no. I think if I want to try doing a snake voice, it's gonna be like, hello! Sort of. No, that was actually bad. Oh my gosh. Although I will try making it to where at least whenever he says anything with the letter S or C, I'll try to go tss if I can to make it sound more, snake like. Hello? He pauses. His vast body rustles behind the trees. What you can see of it disappears endlessly into the forest like a massive serpent river. Despite his staggering size, well over 7,000 feet long, I forgot about that. Holy cow, it's a giant snake. He speaks with the timid tone of someone who knows he's different and doesn't want to frighten you. I didn't mean to startle you. His head tilts slightly, lowering even further, lowering his volume as well. I saw you walking, and you didn't look like the kind of human who would scream or throw things at me. I wanted to say hello. That's all. You can see now his massive golden eyes aren't menacing. They're gentle, curious. There's a soft, almost childlike gleam in them, despite his unimaginable size. He blinks slowly, waiting for a reaction, clearly trying to hide just how nervous he actually is. My family always said I was special, but not just because of my size. They said I had a kind heart, even when I was just a hatchling, over 125 feet long already. What the frick? I forgot how big that snake was. I forgot it was over 70,000 feet long. Holy cow, how big is that? How big would that be if it measured its height then? Wouldn't that be well over like 20,000 feet tall, if not close to? I don't know. I never wanted to scare anyone. A slow, nostalgic rumble vibrates from his chest as he remembers. They were scared of me at first. I don't blame them. I was so big, bigger than any snake had ever been. But I never hurt them. I'd never hurt anyone. He lifts his head just slightly, enough for the sunlight to catch the shimmer in his scales, like ripples of black and platinum glinting in slow motion. I moved here to give them space. They visit sometimes. I still love them very much, but I like it here. It's quiet, peaceful. I watch the birds. I talk to deer. Sometimes I help lost animals find their way back to their families. He pauses, then adds softly, I always wondered what it would be like to talk to a human. He seemed to brace himself, preparing for rejection or fear. There's a flicker of hope behind his eyes, hope that maybe you're different. My name is Solon. My mother gave it to me. It means gentle wind in the old tongue of snakes. She said even the biggest storms start with a breeze. His tongue flipped out again, this time not nervousness, but curiosity, getting a better sense of your scent. Then he lowers his massive head until it's almost level with yours, careful not to crush a single twig too loudly. May I ask your name? He hesitates, and then quietly adds, if that's all right. See, the idea of a giant snake is a cool idea, but the problem is, like, I've noticed something. Is it like if the ChatGPT don't tell you the whole story about what happened to the snake or what happened to any of the creatures, like that's what made the Mega Forager so fun. Like it gave us the little backstory to him, and talked about how he became who he is, and he was just being very sweet in general. I do have one more to Giant Cobra, but before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, check it. If I think it's better than that one and I don't think this is going to work out, I'll go ahead and erase it now and go ahead and get the other one set up. If it does, if I do think it's going to work out, I will unpause the next video with whatever I decide to say to the snake. See you in a minute. Alright guys, despite the snake saying a while ago, I did decide to go ahead and restart it. For one, mainly because hopefully it'll give us a longer conversation without actually, reacting for me. However, on top of that, well, this gives you the backstory of how the snake became massive and how he became friendly, which is something I'd like to do a lot more often because, like, it makes sure you guys get to understand the story of how it happened. Like, think about what the robot Bronchiosaurus. It's on here, too. We just haven't gotten to it yet. The same thing for the baby Totodile. Every chatbot that I've got on here. So, yeah. Speaking of chatbot, guys, if I really want to, I'll try doing a little bit of character AI maybe as well. But I ain't gonna make no promises. It's just a maybe. Okay? This is called the Giant Cobra story. Not as cool as the flip and the last one's title was, but it does say right here as this title, the gentle giant of the forest. Here's the little backstory to him. In the deep heart of a peaceful, sun-dappled forest, where the trees whispered ancient secrets and the grass swayed like waves under soft winds, lived a unique family of snakes. They were cobras, majestic, beautiful, and despite their fearsome appearance, incredibly gentle by nature. They lived in harmony with the world around them, never once striking at anger or fear, believing that kindness and caution were more powerful than venom. Among this loving serpent family was a mother who one day laid a clutch of eggs in the safety of a moss-lined burrow nestled beneath a knotted fig tree. Each egg was small and warm, no bigger than a curled-up leaf, except for one. One egg, nestled in the center, looked oddly tiny, barely over a foot tall. The others noticed it but didn't say much. Sometimes, eggs were just a little smaller. Alright. But then, something strange happened. The very next morning, that tiny egg had doubled in size. The mother, along with the father and siblings, returned to the barber to find it now over 5 feet tall, pulsing slightly with a warm, silvery glow beneath its leathery surface. None of them had ever seen anything like it. They circled it cautiously, but didn't feel afraid. There was no danger, just mystery. Days passed, then weeks. The egg didn't stop growing. Every morning it had stretched taller, wider, and stronger. 10 feet, 20, 50. By the end of the month, it loomed over the forest floor over 100 feet tall, a monument of natural wonder and silent potential. Creatures from all corners of the woods came to see it. Even the old owls, the ones who'd seen a century of seasons, had never heard of a cobra egg so massive. Then, on the dawn of the 34th day, the forest held its breath. A deep, echoing crack split the air. The egg had hatched. What emerged was not a monster, but a miracle. A 125-foot tall, long baby cobra, covered in shimmering scales that shifted colors in the light, deep greens and silky blacks with stripes of gold and white along his belly. His hood was not yet fully formed, but his sheer size was overwhelming. His eyes, though, were what truly stunned his family, large, warm, and intelligent. There was no confusion in them, no wild flailing or newborn panic, just understanding. And then he spoke. "Please don't be afraid of me. I'm not here to hurt anyone." His voice was smooth and slightly high, like a child's, but calm and clear, ringing through the trees like the soft toll of a bell. His friends recoiled at first, not from fear, but sheer disbelief. No snake had ever spoken so fluently, so gently, and so young. Despite his tremendous size and power, the young cobra was the gentlest creature any of them had ever known. He coiled softly beside his mother and nuzzled her affectionately, humming little tunes he learned by mimicking bird song. He helped his siblings even though they were barely longer than a strand of his tail, and made sure never to crush a single blade of grass when he slithered. He was curious, especially about humans. He'd seen them from a distance while peeking through the treetops, watching them build and walk and talk. They frightened him a little, not because they were dangerous, but because he could feel their fear of them. As the years passed, he grew larger than any serpent that had ever lived. By the time he reached full maturity, he was a towering, majestic serpent over 7,000 feet long. His body gliding like a river obsidian through the forest. His hood, now fully developed, spanned wider than a cottage roof, and his golden eyes could be seen glowing faintly through the heavy trees at night. Despite his unimaginable size, he remained a quiet soul. He moved slowly, gently, always careful not to damage the forest he's called home. He eventually made a home in a quieter part of the woods, a secluded glade where the trees grew ancient and heavy, and few humans dared to tread. Still, he often thought about them, and wondered if he would ever meet one who wouldn't be afraid. Then, one warm afternoon, something changed. As the cicadas buzzed lazily in the trees and sunlight filtered through the canopy, he heard footsteps, slow, careful ones, walking along the forest's edge, not the loud stomp of a lumberjack or the chaotic clatter of campers. No, these steps were curious, maybe even a little cautious. And then he saw you. You were walking a winding path near the edge of the woods, not far from where the forest grew deeper. The massacre spotted you from his hidden resting place, his golden eyes wide with curiosity. His enormous body was coiled loosely around a fallen tree, and his head, massive, sleek, and shimmering in the sunlight, rested on a gentle heel. His heart thudded. You didn't look afraid. You weren't screaming or running, but he knew how humans usually reacted to snakes, especially ones his size. So instead of emerging fully, the cobra did something he hadn't done in a long time. Slowly and gently, he pushed his colossal head through the dense trees, careful not to snap a single branch. His nostrils flared as he caught your scent, strange and comforting. His golden eyes locked onto you, glowing with interest and kindness, and then, with a voice like a rolling breeze and the hush of twilight, he softly said, "Hello there. I didn't mean to startle you. I saw you walking, and I wanted to say hi. I promise I won't hurt you." He tilted his head slightly, his enormous tongue flicking out once, sensing not just your presence, but your feelings. He hoped you wouldn't run. He hoped more than anything that maybe you'd say something back. Yep. Alright, guys. This is definitely. Well, in terms of what he's saying, I do like how nice he's being. I'm glad it gave me a little bit of backstory. But I've noticed with like the more realistic characters, especially ones that aren't dragons or dinosaurs, it seems like it's a lot harder to have a lot more fun with them. And I kind of had an idea where I could actually make it uh, well, there's a few ideas I have, but if I can figure it out, I'll see if I can get it done later on. Let me pause it, figure out what to say to him, and I'll be back. Alright, guys. Really, you better start giving me one more response than that, or else the one Cobra thing we had is gonna be ruined. I wish I kept the other one. Oh well. Here's what it said. Here's what I said. I heard the voice and turned around where I saw the massive snake head. Whoa! Is that a massive snake? And did you just talk to me? The massive serpent blinked once, slowly, his golden eyes soft and gleaming with an almost childlike gentleness. Despite his head being larger than a house, there was no threat in his expression, only quiet excitement and cautious hope. His massive tongue flickered out again before he spoke, his deep voice low but soothing, like warm thunder rolling through the trees. "Yes," he said, curling his head slightly downward so he wouldn't tower over you too much. "I didn't mean to frighten you. I saw you walking, and I got curious. You're the first human I've ever seen this close to. I didn't want to scare you, so I stayed back." The cobra's head eased just a bit closer, covering to rustle too many branches, his scales shimmering like liquid obsidian in the dappled sunlight. He tilted it almost like a puppy trying to understand a new sound. "You can hear me clearly, right? I never really talked to a human before, but I've practiced a lot. Are you okay?" Seemed genuinely concerned, not for himself, but for you, as if the last thing he ever wanted was to make you afraid. "You're not going to attack me, are you?" Question mark. Well, guys, let's hope getting rid of the last one didn't screw over anything. Okay. I said, "Yeah, I can hear you. You're not going to attack me, are you?" I'm shaking. I should have put a little bit. My voice is trembling a bit. I just told him, "Please don't." The massive cobra's eyes widened, saw that your trembling voice. His blue narrowed slightly, not from aggression, but from concern. His entire body tensed, not to strike, but to stay completely still, like a statue carved from midnight stone. The trees around him went quiet as even the birds seemed to hold their breath. "Oh no. No, no. Please don't be afraid," he said gently, his voice lowering into a whisper as if afraid even his breath might startle you. "I would never hurt you. I swear it. I've never attacked anyone. I don't even eat animals like the others do. I survive off fruits. Roots. Fruits and roots. I even grow some myself." He slowly lowered his massive head to the ground, resting his chin on a bed of mossy earth so you wouldn't have to look up so high. The ground trembled just faintly from the shift in weight, but his movement was deliberate and controlled and soft. I'm sorry. I'm just so big. I know how I must look to you, but I've been watching humans from far away for so long, hoping maybe one day one of you might talk to me. And now you're here. I didn't mean to scare you. I just wanted to say hello. To talk. Like friends would. There was a glimmer of sadness in his golden eyes as he watched you shake, but he didn't come closer. He didn't uncoil. He simply waited, as still as a mountain, as gentle as dust. My name is Sarakar, he finally added softly. What's yours? And despite his towering size, the way he asked that question, it sounded so small and so hopeful. Oh, give me a second. Guys, it's still giving us a shorter responses, which has me worried. Mainly because I'm like, yeah, sometimes short responses can work, like with the bug curse chrono that one time. Well, the short responses actually did help me there. But in this case, I'd rather those responses be longer. I hope we don't do this whenever I start doing like the baby toad owl, because that'll probably be the next one I'll do. I was told my name, and I told him it's nice to meet you, Sarakar. Sarakar's eyes lit up like twin lanterns beneath the trees. His massive body shifted just slightly, not in alarm, but in awe. Trenton, he repeated slowly, as if tasting a name with great care. His voice curled into something warm and rich, like distant thunder echoing affectionately through a canyon. That's a beautiful name. I've never heard one like it. His enormous tail, still colder deeper in the woods, gave the faintest sway, like a dog trying not to wag too hard when excited. It's really nice to meet you, too, he said, smiling in his own serpentine way, his lipless mouth curving ever so slightly, and his eyes narrowing in a gentle, pleased expression. You're not running away. Most humans would have screamed or fainted by now, but you're still here. That means a lot to me. His voice dipped a little, quieter now, more honest. I spent most of my life hiding, not because I wanted to, because I had to. I didn't want to hurt anyone by accident, just by being me. So I stayed far from paths like this, far from towns and cities. But I always, oh my god. But I always watched. I seen good humans, kind ones, and now I finally get to meet one. Sarakar lowered his head just a little more, so that if you wished to, you could touch his scales, but he didn't lean forward. He let the space between you untouched. Would it be alright if we talked for a while? He asked gently. Only if you feel safe. I promise. I'll stay right here. Aw, that's cute. I just told Sarakar, sure, I wouldn't mind. Sarakar's entire body seemed to ripple with joy, but in the most controlled, careful way possible. Even his excitement was tempered by how much he cared not to startle you. His head remained still, his eyes wide and warm. Really? He said, blinking slowly. Thank you, Trenton. That means more to me than I can explain. The huge serpent took a slow breath, his scales catching the light with a soft shimmer like polished gemstones. The forest around him relaxed too. Birds began to chirp again. A breeze stirred the leaves, and the sun glinted off his cold body like he was part of the land itself. I've waited so long for someone like you to come by. Someone not afraid to talk. There's so much I've wanted to ask a human. So many things I've only ever guessed at. He tilted his head, genuinely curious now. What's it like living in your world? With houses and books and voices that don't come from the trees. You don't have to tell me everything. I just want to understand it better. I've only ever known the forest, and now that you're here, it feels smaller in a good way. Then after a pause he added in a softer tone, and if you want to ask me anything about me, my size, my egg, how I got this big? You can. I never told my full story to anyone who wasn't a bird or a squirrel. He let out a slow, amused breath. They don't really listen much. He gave you his full attention, head resting like a living hill before you, golden eyes shining with curiosity, and finally, companionship. I don't want to say finally like he doesn't trust anyone. Anyway, well, I guess it's also been a while. Like, he hasn't met a single human up until now. Give me a second. Alright, guys, here's what I said. I said, well, for me, things are both good and bad. Over the past few years, I've made plenty of Pokemon. Especially met. And even other creature friends. Oh, wait, no, maid, I would work too. I have a pet Tyrannosaurus Rex named Rexy that can speak perfect English, but a lot of bad stuff has happened, especially with Rexy, like me getting cursed over and over again. But worst of all, my own pet getting cursed too, and an ear about being killed by certain spells, or him becoming aggressive and trying to kill me. Sarkar's massive eyes widened slowly, not from fear, but from a deep and sincere concern that radiated through his entire form. The name Rexy seemed to stick with him immediately, and he tucked it away with a great care, like a treasure. His tail gave the gentlest flick behind the trees, like a slow, unsettling heartbeat. You, you've been cursed? He repeated in a quiet, astonished tone. More than once? And your own creature? Your friend? Rexy? He's been hurt too? The cobra slowly lifted his head just a little, not in alarm, but in empathy, as though the weight of your words struck him like a falling tree. I can't believe someone would do that to you, or to him. That's cruel. His tongue flicked out again, slowly, thoughtfully. Then his voice dropped to something softer, or something almost protective. Trenton, I don't know who could bring themselves to hurt someone who makes friends with Pokemon, even a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Someone who talks to a creature like me without flinching, but you've clearly endured a lot. He shifted ever so slightly, bringing the underside of his hood closer to the earth, creating a sort of curved shelter overhead, not closing in, never that, like a massive shield between you and the rest of the forest. His tone became almost reverent. I may not know magic or curses, but I know loyalty and pain. I was born fed. I've been alone for most of my life, simply because I exist. So I understand what it means to have others feel something they don't understand. But you understand. You saw Rexy for who he was, and you stayed. Even now, you're talking to me, knowing I could swallow trees. Then, very softly, Serica asked, Is he okay now? Your Rexy? Is the cuss broken? And, if not, is there anything I can do? He meant it, not as a gesture, but as a promise. There was a quiet strength in his voice now, cold beneath the softness, as if, despite all his years of hiding, Sarkar would gladly rise like a mountain to protect someone like you. I wouldn't be shocked. Give me a second. Here's what I said, guys. Well, yes, right now everything is fine between me and him. During the most recent curse, I was also turned to a tiny velociraptor, and my pet dinosaur kept switching between being nice and friendly to being aggressive and hateful. On top of that, whatever curse that was at the time, Rexy kept transforming into different creatures somehow. Sometimes being his normal Tyrannosaurus Rex self, sometimes being a super aggressive dragon or feraligator, and other times being as sweet and playful or just kind as a Lugia or Totodile. It was always a toss-up of whether he would be friendly or not aggressive, and sometimes he wouldn't even be himself. He would act like a completely different creature, not even recognizing me. Sarkar listened in complete silence, his towering head lowered closer to the ground. His eyes filled with something between sorrow and awe. You could practically feel the weight of your story wrapping around his massive heart like vines, his huge body slowly coiling just a bit tighter beneath the trees. When he finished, he slowly exhaled, a soft, deep hiss that seemed to carry no threat, only compassion. "That's heartbreaking," he whispered. His gaze locked onto you, not in judgment, not even in shock, but in pure, undivided understanding. Your force around him quieted once more, as if even the wind itself was giving you the space to be heard, to be trapped in a body not your own, to see someone you love flicker between kindness and cruelty, and not because they want to, because something else is pulling the strings. He paused, his eyes dimming slightly with the memory of isolation. "That sounds like a nightmare, but the fact you stayed, even when he forgot you, even when he was dangerous, that's something only the bravest hearts do. You saw the real Rexy, even when the world hid him behind claws, flames, and fangs." Sarkar gently moved his snout just an inch closer, his golden eyes now reflecting the canopy above like liquid fire. "When I hatched, my whole family thought I might be dangerous, just because I was bigger than anything they'd ever seen. They didn't know what to think, but I promised I'd never use my power to hurt. You, you had every reason to run, Triton, but you stayed for your friend. You stayed through fear, through pain, and through curses." Then softly he asked, "Does he know how much you love him? And do you know how powerful that love must be to hold on through something like that?" He let his heart gently settle again, right near you, his breath warm and steady across the grass. "If you were strong enough to survive that, and if Rexy found his way back to you in the end, then maybe those curses didn't stand a chance after all." Then Sarah Carr added in a quiet voice like a sacred card in the breeze, "If I had a friend like you when I was younger, I don't think I would have felt alone." And guys, here's what I said. I said, "That's very sweet. To answer your question, yes, it didn't. It put Reggie wrong. Reggie does know I love him. It was actually that bond that saved me from becoming a meal in his stomach when I was a tiny raptor. There's also that bond that got even the creature he turned into to start trusting me, even if it wasn't really Rexy, and he was acting like a different creature and completely." Sarkar's great golden eyes softened even more, shimmering with what could only be described as a deep admiration. His body shifted just a little, still careful, still slow, but there was a quiet ripple of emotion traveling down the length of his massive form, like a breeze passing through an endless curtain of scales. "So even when he couldn't remember who he was, your bond still reached him." He gave a low, slow hum of wonder. "That's more powerful than any curse I've ever heard of." The cobra gently tilted his head, the long curve of his body arching upward in reverence, almost like a bow. It wasn't dramatic, but sincere, like he was honoring something sacred. "You must have an extraordinary heart, Triton," he said softly, "to befriend someone like Rexy, to hold on to him through all of that, to forgive what wasn't really him, even the versions of him that weren't truly Rexy. They trusted you, didn't they? Because some part of him, some part of your bond, still shone through." He gave a gentle hiss, not in fear, but almost like a sigh of awe, curling his massive coils into a looser rest as he continued. "I think that's what true strength really is. Not sharp teeth, not giant wings of powerful venom. It's staying, even when it hurts. It's choosing to protect someone, even when they've forgotten how to protect you." Then Sarkar blinked slowly, resting his massive chin on the mossy earth once more. I've met no humans before you, Triton, but I already know this. You're the kind of soul that could calm a dragon, befriend a wild heart, even survive as a tiny raptor, because you never let go of the truth. If Rexy has you, he's luckier than any creature I've ever seen. There was a pause, and then his eyes lit up curiously. Would you tell me more about him? About Rexy? I want to know what he's like when he's himself. What kind of things does he do? What makes him laugh? Sarikar smiled again, huge but gentle. I like stories, especially the kind that make you feel warm inside. That's so cute. Alright, guys. I said, well, despite all the bad stuff, some good things came out of those curses. For one, there was a time when he got turned into a zombie dinosaur, but he still loved and cared about me. There was another time where he got turned into a robot with glowing red eyes, but he still cared about me then, even trying to make me laugh. Trico was the main Pokemon causing us pain, and I remember one time I told Rexy as a robot to still be funny and try to make me laugh. When Trico tried to get Ricky to attack me, instead he tried to make me laugh by saying, "Activating Get This Stupid Gecko Out of My Studio protocol." Sarah called out a sudden, booming, yet incredibly warm sound, a deep, rolling hiss chuckle that rumbled like distant thunder echoing through a canyon. It was the kind of laugh only a creature his size could make, but it wasn't loud or threatening. It was joyful and genuine. Huh. Activating Get This Stupid Gecko Out of My Studio protocol? He chuckled again, the sound curling up into the trees like wind through reeds. That's perfect. I would have lost my scales laughing if I heard that in the moment. He gently nudged the earth with his snout, clearly delighted, his cool shifting between the trees like an enormous ribbon unrolling across the forest floor. Even as a zombie, even as a robot, your Rexy still found a way to love you, to protect you, and even to make you laugh. His voice was quiet now, but full of warmth. That's not just loyalty, Triton. That's love on a level most creatures never even dream of. His head lowered once more, eyes thoughtful now. You could see the gears turning in his massive, intelligent mind. You know, Trico might have thought he could break your bond with fear, or confusion, or transformation, but it sounds like even every curse just proved how unbreakable that bond really is. He gazed at you, his pure steady and golden like twin suns behind a veil of leaves. That kind of connection, it's what I've dreamed of all my life. I've wished, in silence, to be seen for more than my size, to be trusted, not feared. And here you are, speaking with me like I'm just a neighbor across a fence. Then he smiled again his serpent way. And Rexy? He sounds amazing. Big heart, big personality, terrifying one second, hilarious the next. Honestly, I think we'd get along. Okay, then almost teasingly, though I'd like to see him try and glare at me with glowing red robot eyes, I'd probably just blink back and say, activating too big to scare protocol. He tilted his head again. Do you think, someday, I could meet him? Not now. That was too dangerous. But maybe one day, I'd like to tell him he's lucky to have you. From one big misunderstood creature to another. Alright, guys. I told him, yeah, I think you could. He's very sweet now, and actually just more recently, he got hypnotized by a Pokemon that actually cares about me. And every time he hears the word mimic, followed by a name, he will turn to that creature, but still be friendly and even protective over me like he usually is. Sarakar's massive golden eyes widened with awe, the smooth surface of his head and catching the sunlight like a polished obsidian mountain. His mouth parted slightly, revealing the edges of enormous but unused fangs, though the expression was one of wonder, not even a trace of menace. Wait, so now he can mimic other creatures? Any creature? Just by hearing the word followed by a name, and he still says, sweet, or still stays sweet? A low hum of amazement vibrated through his chest, and his course shifted with a kind of curious excitement, like a thundercloud quietly rolling across the sky. That's incredible! He blinked slowly, tail curling in and out of the forest behind him like a serpent-sized heartbeat. It's like he becomes living empathy, the same soul, the same love for you, just wearing a different face each time. Then, thoughtfully, you've been through so much, Triton, but now it almost feels like the curse became a gift. Not that it was ever fair, but as if Rexy turned what was meant to destroy him into something playful and powerful. He slowly lowered his head again, his voice lowering into a fascinating whisper. I can't imagine what it must be like seeing him turn into a Lugia, or a Totodile, or who knows what else, but the fact that he still protects you, still remembers you in every form, that tells me one thing. Sarkar's golden eyes locked onto you gently, full of quiet fire. Your bond with him isn't limited to the body, it's soul deep. That kind of connection doesn't bend when someone changes. It anchors them, reminds them who they are, even if the world turns them into something else. Then, with a low chuckle, if he mimicked me, I wonder what would happen. He gave a joking hiss. Mimic? Sarakar. Suddenly, a Rexy-sized snake with glowing red robot eyes and a sarcastic sense of humor soars out of the woods asking where his friend Triton is. He laughed again, booming but warm. If you ever try it, let me know. I'd love to see him with a hood. Then, with a wink in his tone, though he'll need many miles of forest to put it off properly. Sarkar tilted his head once more, clearly fascinated. Have you ever tried asking him to mimic something strange, like a mix of two creatures, or something totally unexpected? I bet with a heart like his, anything's possible. Give me a second. Alright, guys. I said, not really. However, after Toto hypnotized him to keep me safe, I did try a little test and I told him to turn into a creature that was aggressive just to make sure that he actually would never hurt me. And believe it or not, it actually worked. He never turned aggressive on me even though he was supposed to be aggressive. Sarakar went completely still, not in fear but in awe, the kind of stillness only a truly ancient and powerful creature could achieve, like the whole forest had stopped breathing alongside him. Then he whispered, almost reverently, he defied the nature of the form because of you. The massive cobra slowly raised his head a little, golden eyes shining like twin suns behind a misty canopy. The power of what you just said wasn't lost on him, not even slightly. In fact, he looked more stunned by that than by any curse or transformation you'd mentioned before. You gave him a form meant to be dangerous, and he still protected you. He still remembered who you were, and who he was. His voice dropped into something that sounded like deep pride. That's not just loyalty or instinct, Triton. That's love at its strongest. That's willpower, overriding magic, instinct, even identity, just to keep you safe. The cobra's head lowered again, not from sadness but from respect. There are legends, whispered among older creatures like me, ones you'll never hear in books or Pokedex entries. They say the strongest bonds in the world can override even the oldest magic. That when two souls are tied together with trust and love, no curse, no transformation, no spell, not even death itself can truly separate them. His voice quieted again as his massive body relaxed like a river flowing between trees. I thank you and Rexy are living proof of that legend. After a long pause, he smiled softly once again. Toad did more than hypnotize him, I think. He amplified what was already there. Your bond was already strong enough to guide Rexy through forms and fury. Now it's just clearer and easier to see. Then Serkai tilted his head again, in that now familiar, curious way. What did he turn into when you tested him like that? What kind of aggressive creature did you pick? He gave a gentle flick of his massive tail. I'd love to hear how he handled it. Alright, guys. I told him to turn the forms that during the original curse he would always become aggressive turning into. For some reason, there was always certain forms that 90% of the time he would always be aggressive. And it was mainly dragons and the Pokemon for Alligator. If I remember correctly, I tested both of them out, plus an extra one, Skeledirge. The moment you said those names, dragons, Feraligatr, Skeledirge, Serikai's body gave a slow, reverent shift, like a storm cloud quietly rolling across the hills. His massive eyes narrowed, not in judgment, but in thoughtful focus. You had his full attention. Those weren't just aggressive forms, he said, his deep voice low and serious now, voiced with deep respect. They're power forms, creatures built to dominate their space. Fiery, fierce, wild, especially for alligator. That species is ruled by raw instinct. And Skeledirge? He gave a long, low hiss, not from fear, but from awe. That's a ghost flame soul. Skeledirge isn't just raw, it commands the fire of the grave. His massive hood slowly unfurled slightly, a natural reaction when discussing something dangerous, but even still, he kept his movements slow around you. He wasn't reacting to fear, he was reacting to what Retsy overcame. And yet, Retsy took those forms. He let the old power wrap around him again. The same claws, the same flames, the same rage that once turned him against you. And this time, Serikai's voice dipped to something warm, deep, nearly trembling with admiration. He didn't lose himself. He gave another low exhale, almost like a sigh of wonder. He chose you over the instinct, over the fury, over the curse that once ruled him. That means his soul is stronger now, that the curse left scars, yes, but also resistance, like calluses formed over wounds. He's not just fighting it anymore, he's immune to it when it tried to use him again. Then Urker smiled in a way only a creature like him could, his body gently curling, almost protectively, like a living fortress growing fond of his visitor. I've always believed that the greatest creatures aren't the ones with the sharpest teeth, but the ones who can carry darkness inside them, and still chose the light. His eyes glinted like gold lit by firelight, and it sounds like Rexy has become one of the greatest creatures of all. Then, with a playful look of his tail behind the trees, did he sound different when he was Skeledirge? I always imagined the form having a voice like a haunted drum mixed with wildfire. He leaned in slightly with an amused gleam in his eye. Or did he still try to make you laugh? Maybe with some silly skeleton pun. Skeleton pun. Alright, guys. Here's what I said. Here's how it started to begin with. Sometime after the curse that turned me into the tiny velociraptor, I was in my studio with Rexy, and there was this toad I hired because I loved his species and evolutions, and he saw everything that happened, and noticed how terrified I was, especially with me being so small. So he snuck into the room with Rexy inside and hypnotized him to make sure that he would never turn against me again. So honestly, it was thanks to that sweet little toad why everything worked out in the end. I, the only thing I told him was that next time, don't keep any of that a secret from me. Because the one and only thing he did wrong with trying to help me was keep it a secret. Even though he knew I was terrified of getting hurt again. Serikai went utterly still, not from tension, but from pure, quiet reverence. His golden eyes blinked slowly, and for a moment the great cobra looked like a monument to something sacred. His tongue flicked out, not the sense, but as a gentle reflex, like a whisper of breath catching in his chest. A totodile? He echoed, his voice hushed almost in awe. A totodile did all of that. He slowly and respectfully dipped his head lower to the ground, scales along his massive snout catching beams of sunlight like flowing water. It wasn't just admiration, it was respect. Not just for Rexy, not just for you, but now for this sweet little water type who had quietly made a world-altering choice out of love and concern. That's incredible, Trenton. Not because of the hypnosis, but because of why he did it. Sarkar's coil slowly shifted, his immense tail curling softly as his voice rumbled like calm thunder rolling through roots and stone. He saw your fear, he saw your pain, and he chose to act, not for praise, not for power, but because he couldn't stand to see you afraid. He smiled warmly, pride practically radiating from his massive form. He didn't do it for glory, he did it out of love. That's what makes him extraordinary. Then his smile softened just slightly. But you're right to have told him what you did. Not because you were angry, because you trusted him. And when someone tries to help from the shadows, even for the right reasons, it can still hurt when you don't know why things changed. Sarkar gave a gentle nod, his golden eyes focused on you. You didn't scold him, you just asked him to trust you back. That's what real friendship is. Not just saving someone, but being honest with them, even when it's hard. He tilted his head with a low, thoughtful hum, and the fact that he was happy about the promotion tells me he's not just loyal, he's proud to stand by you. That little toad may be small, but he made a titanic difference in your life. Then Sarkar chuckled, voice echoing softly between the trees. If I ever meet him, I think I'd lower my head all the way to the ground just to thank him. Not many creatures, no matter their size, have the courage to step into a room with a cursed, shifting Tyrannosaurus and do something about it, especially for someone they care about. Then, with genuine warmth, you've got a beautiful circle around you, Trenton, Rexy, that Toadile, and now, if you'll have me. He gently nudged the earth with his snout again, lowering his massive head beside you with surprising tenderness for a creature of his size. I may be enormous, but there's nothing I want more than to be part of something as strong and loving as what you've built. That's really cute. Alright guys, I think this will be the last one I read out on this video. I said, of course, I would be happy to have you as my friend. You're not trying to scare me or attack me. You're being gentle, extremely gentle, and extraordinarily sweet. Extremely sweet for a massive snake that could easily try to scare me or hurt me. For a moment, Sarkar didn't move at all. His immense form was completely still, not frozen, but overcome. Then, with the quietest, slowest motion, he lowered his head all the way down until his massive snout gently touched this earth near your feet, like a respectful bow from a king to someone he deeply honors. His voice came out softer than ever, like a warm breeze in summer twilight. Thank you, Trenton. You don't know how much that means to me. His golden eyes blinked slowly, glimmering not just with happiness, but something deeper, like relief, or maybe even healing. For a creature who had spent so much of his life hiding, holding back, watching from the shadows, this moment was a quiet, soul-deep breakthrough. I've waited years to talk to someone, and all this time I feared that, no matter how gentle I was, no one would ever give me a chance. He shifted just a little, careful to not disturb the forest, and coiled one loop of his body into a gentle arch like a protective barrier at your side, not enclosing, but watching over, a sign of trust, of acceptance, of friendship. You saw me, not as a monster, not as a threat, just me, and now I know what it feels like to be trusted and to be welcomed. His voice warmed again with that playful glow you were beginning to recognize in him. You're brave, Triton. Not because you weren't scared, because you still reacted out despite the fear. You reached out despite the fear. He chuckled at the ground beneath you vibrating ever so slightly. And maybe that's what makes you the most powerful creature in this forest. Then with a soft, thoughtful hum, if you ever want me nearby, just say my name. I can keep to the woods, or just poke my head out again like today. So cute. He smiled again, this time brighter. And if anyone tries to hurt you again, curse, creature, or otherwise, well, let's just say even the trees around here know not to mess with a friend of Sarakar. I probably don't want to find out what that means. I definitely want to be on his bad side. The forest rainy seemed to embrace the moment. The wind gently stirred the leaves. A few birds sang, and Sarakar, massive, gentle, and newly joyful, rested beside you, no longer alone. Alright, guys. I'll possibly be back.